All aboard as we continue our journey in search of new ways of thinking, new philosophies, new visual realities, undiscovered countries of the mind. Everyone, come one, come all on the pirate ship of the mind. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, Artist Journal, January 16th, 2024. Broadcasting from the editor's desk, having conversations with ghosts, just like in Dante's Inferno. A wonderful book. Again, the rain of fire falling from the sky, totally a visionary, a very visual work. Just beautiful. You do need a guide, as Virgil is Dante's guide. My guide is the Great Courses, the teaching company. If anybody's interested, I will show that lecture. I can show it right now. This is Dana Ulama. Let me very quickly show you. Great Courses, Dante. If anybody's wondering, this is a great lecture series here. Dante's Divine Comedy. It is on Wondrium. And yeah, it's two professors at the same time here, William Cook, Ronald Hertzman, and they just go back and forth, and it is fascinating. So these are my guides through Dante's Divine Comedy. You need a guide, otherwise you're not really sure what's going on. But with a guide, it's not so bad at all. Well worth the trouble. So here we are, Dana Ulama with a new piece here on Foundation. This is a cyberpunk work. You know, it made me wonder, and I brought it up with ChatGPT. We can't read all of it, but it made me wonder, what is the difference between Cyberpunk and Vaporwave? Because when I first saw this, I was like, is this Vaporwave? Because I look at the colors, right? And I'll show you, actually, let me just quickly show you some examples here. I brought it up here. You know, this is kind of Vaporwave colors, right? This is a search on Vaporwave art. Similar palette. But then I was like, is this Cyberpunk or Vaporwave? And it's, interestingly, it's a combination. They overlap. And we're going to see that. I asked ChatGPT to show where they overlap. So very interesting discussion right there. Because I think a lot of us have a general idea of both these things. But it's nice to just kind of get a more precise distinction. So again, you know, so we walk away from spending a bit of time here, a little richer here on our ship here. So as we see here, let's take a quick look at the work. We have a bird's eye view here of a busy technological city. Looks like the future. The future is now on this futuristic billboard done in this neon pink orange. You also see a little bit of neon pink orange there. And so mostly purple, with this, what I would call the focal point in this neon here. This beautiful, and it's a beautiful color combination. I've even done it on physical works where I have a purple background. If I had more time, I would dig it up, but we'd have to restart, etc. But it's a beautiful color combination. A lot of people use it, as you saw in that Vaporwave example. But of course, Dana has her own subtleties with it and these beautiful gradients in here. And also, I mean, the animation itself is quite beautiful and kind of glitchy, right? As you see it kind of restart here. Very cool. And even up here, this lighting, I mean, it's easy to overlook this kind of stuff. And even the double, you see the double text? Like a nice, you know, there's a lot of subtlety, you know, the artistry is actually what I'm trying to say. The artistry of what so many people do with the works we look at here, just a ton. And even just the, you know, out of focusness of, you know, the cars. There's just a general sense of, you know, like it's you looking down and you don't have a clear, you know, it's a person, a human looking down on this very technological scene here. Quantum smile, biometrics lab down there on the building. So a future of sorts. And here, interesting kind of curved perspective here, almost a bit of a fisheye kind of perspective here, I think you would call it. And you see, again, text coming up here in a very original way. So just a gorgeous, interesting speculation here from Dana Ulama. And this is on Foundation. A reserve of only an ETH, 1.1 ETH, but that is, these days, that is $2,600 probably dollars. Beautiful title. A New World, as we are here in search of new worlds. Animated urban scene, Procreate and Photoshop, January 2024. So brand new from Dana Ulama. Here is some of Dana's other work, and I think I started with this work when this came out. This is 5 months old. I thought it was actually longer, but beautiful. Kind of more of a red here, and like red, violet, and pink on here. This was a very interesting one. Exit. There's the one with the eye that I couldn't find. I don't know if that's on Super Rare, but usually Super Rare appears on Foundation. So all to say, just very interesting work here. And as you see here, Dana Ulama, thematic color palettes. So a pretty disciplined kind of technically, knows what they're doing. It's not full of randomness here. Artist. I know it looks like I'm always defaulting to red, purple, but there's actually more nuance to it. There's maybe a purple and red here. Good night. And so here you see she's shared her color palettes, which is pretty cool. Gloomy Nights. This one has more of a turquoise with the purple. Bit of a different feel here. And here, Golden Hour, maybe morning in Cyberpunk land. A warmer Cyberpunk world with just a bit of warmth here rather than the red, a kind of orange, light orange. So that is interesting. And the Cyberpunk there also, I think, giving us a clue as to at least how Dana Ulama sees her own work as Cyberpunk, one would think. This is also an incredible piece. Again, I couldn't find it just in Foundation here, but this work is animated, and you see here in the pupil this person here, this woman scrolling through her feed, and it's a very powerful work. I may have started with that way back when too. So this is a little long, unfortunately, but for those that are kind of wondering what the distinction between Vaporwave and Cyberpunk is, let me just go. Let me just go here. Ask ChatGPT 4, and the aesthetic of Vaporwave is often associated with visual art and design that incorporates early internet imagery, late 20th century computer graphics. Remember what we were just looking at when I jumped over? Let me show you here quickly. This stuff. Okay, this is, me putting Vaporwave art into Google. Okay, so you kind of get the picture here. Kind of retro, kind of Tron, but with, it's kind of like Tron here, but with pink added, right? I mean, we put Tron 1980s, right? I mean, you could argue this basically, this is probably a direct screen, Tron effect. But you see what I'm saying here. It's probably Disney scraped off all the, you see what I'm saying here. The original, one could argue, Tron was the original Vaporwave. I'm not an expert in these things, but I'd be curious if anybody thinks differently. So again, kind of, 20th century computer graphics, glitch art, kind of retro in feeling here. And there's also, this is super important here, Vaporwave also often critiques consumer culture and modern capitalism, albeit in a somewhat ironic or satirical way. So often there's a sense of humor or irony in Vaporwave, whereas, so I asked the difference between Cyberpunk and Vaporwave. They have an aesthetic overlap. Okay, so both visual aesthetics that become influential in their own right. Cyberpunk is known for its gritty, futuristic, neon-drenched cityscapes. So we could say Dana Ulama's work there, often portraying a high-tech but dystopian world. In contrast, Vaporwave's aesthetic is characterized by its retro-futuristic, nostalgic feel, using elements from 80s and 90s pop culture, technology, and advertising. So with what we have here, I think we would call Dana Ulama's work cyberpunk. However, both share a fondness for neon colors and certain kinds of digital or artificial texture in their visuals. They often deal with technology and its impact on society, but Cyberpunk's is more on the darker side of technological advancements and its implications for society, politics, and individual identity. Again, more of a dystopian sort of view, whereas Vaporwave is more with a sense of irony or satire, focusing on consumerism, corporate culture, and nostalgia. So both are critiques, but they target different aspects of society. Cyberpunk critiques potentially dangerous technological advancement and corporate power, whereas Vaporwave critiques consumer culture, especially the commodification of nostalgia and superficiality of corporate branding and advertising. So there's more of an irony to Vaporwave and less of a kind of a philosophical dystopian vibe. And Vaporwave is sometimes drawn from Cyberpunk's imagery and themes, integrating them within its own unique style. Okay, so in a sense, Cyberpunk came first. Again, we think of Neuromancer, William Gibson, the novel, which I haven't read, which I hear is really good, and I really should. This can be seen in artworks where the retro-futuristic nostalgia of Vaporwave is combined with the more dystopian technological themes of Cyberpunk. So they do overlap, the neon aesthetics in particular. So, and interestingly, the neon aesthetics and certain retro elements of Vaporwave have found their way into modern interpretations of Cyberpunk. So you see here, they influence each other. Both have strong ties to internet culture and digital art. Vaporwave in particular originated and evolved within the digital realm, heavily influenced by early internet culture. Very interesting point. Vaporwave is an internet phenomenon. Whereas Cyberpunk, while predating the internet, again, we think of Neuromancer, has, 1980s, 82, I'm assuming, 81, has been embraced and reinterpreted by digital artists, often blending traditional cyberpunk motifs with contemporary digital aesthetics, including those borrowed from Vaporwave and here. So it's kind of like Cyberpunk 2.0, you might be tempted to say, with someone like Dana Ulama. So our nice little scholarly sojourn here today as we get started. So unfortunately, I made this too long, so you don't see the big purple thing that we normally see. But we're going to have a great space this week. I'll put another post out later today. And we're going to have Michele Colonna is coming on the show awesomely after we missed it last time, after we missed the show. So here we're going to talk about Colonna Contemporary, Michele Colonna's gallery, and it's going, look at this, look at this beautiful work that Michele is having at the gallery here, and this is on Colonna Contemporary's Instagram. So give him a follow there. Just beautiful, beautiful work. Michele's got the eye, and awesomely, our guest co-host, because Runtune is in Asia, Bangkok, and Vietnam, this week. Dina Chang has agreed to come on for the next 3 weeks, so very excited about that. And so it should be a great hangout, so come check that out. That is tomorrow on Wednesday at 9:30 New York, 3:30 Berlin. Come check it out, and it should be a great time. Come on stage, ask a question, come hang out. Layering effects. So this is yesterday's show here. Thank you, Rada, for the comment. Epic intro, awesome episode as always. So, when I upload stuff, I have no idea. Sometimes I think, sometimes I just upload it and just go, I filed my report, who knows? Just like that artwork yesterday, you just have no idea so it's always nice to hear from you, Rada, and get that feedback. As I said here, if Rada, if you're the only person watching, I might still do this show. So that was great. And Louise, Andre Gamma, I agree with what you said about Howdy Do. He does, so the collector on Tezos that was temporarily kicked off but brought back, he does the same to me, putting in low offers for artists, which is annoying a lot of artists. But I found this story more funny than it made me angry. He really is a villain that would only happen on Tezos. I agree. So I'm glad other people are laughing. And I think that's it's Howdy Do's pretty funny. At the end of the day. And as that other person was pointing out yesterday in that kind of extended post that we couldn't watch, in a sense, like when Howdy Do buys something for cheap, he sells it for more money. In a sense, like that person who's selling it for 20 cents, they either really need the money or they didn't value it to begin with and are just sort of like, who cares? And now Howdy Do seems to appreciate, he's got one of the biggest collections on Tezos. And he doesn't look like he wants to sell a ton of it. There's some get sold here and there, but I don't see a ton of selling. But I'm not an expert on Howdy Do. But anyway, glad you appreciate that. Also, great to hear from Jake Studios, who had that great work yesterday. Surreal Illustrator, really interesting work. Denzo, thank you. Chrome Great show. Correction on the counterparty stuff. Rare Pepes refer to a specific curated collection from 2016 to 2017. So I thought it was like 2014, 2015. I did not realize that. Anything made since then is likely in another collection, fake rares, fake commons, etc., or is just a Pepe. Let me know if you ever want to mint there. So, first of all, thank you. I will let you know if I ever go down that path. It sounds like a cool platform, but this is quite interesting. Like, I mean, I'm really glad you shared this because I didn't actually realize that. I thought, say, like, Morlacco's putting out work in the last year or two. I would assume those are rare Pepes, but no, it's actually a specific collection from 2016 to 2017, and now they're called something else, either a Pepe, a fake common, or a fake rare. So very interesting, and thank you for the offer there. I may take you up on that at some point, Chrome. Great to hear from you. Rat Cloak. Thanks, Adrian, for collecting and including your piece in your the piece in your show. Much appreciated. You are more than welcome, my friend. One of the great artists of Tezos there, Rat Cloak. Denirus, thank you so much for featuring my glitchy Datamoshi experiments. You're welcome. They look fabulous. And Lubitil Blisney, very interesting. And thank you. Of course, had the Venus Project work there. So great to hear from everybody here. Daga and Trippy Collector. I didn't realize it was a holiday, and Walk and everybody. Cider, great to hear from you. Glad Ilio Givel was there. That really interesting abstract illustrator on Super Rare. Yeah, that was an interesting work there too. Again, I should have, as I keep on trying to iterate and make this show better, I didn't do it this morning because I ran out of time because my other tabs disappeared that were half this show today. But what I'm going to do on a regular basis is actually open up my Foundation where I get notifications if people mint on Super Rare or on Foundation. And that should also help just kind of see what's going on, because I've been missing a ton on Ethereum. And, here's just another example of that. So the feed on Foundation is excellent. August Ground, thanks for the shout out. Great feeling to have my thoughts hit a nerve, or rather a funny bone. I love your coining of the phrase lesson in conviction in terms of waiting for sales. I'm learning that lesson. Picked up a couple of pieces from this episode. Appreciate it. Awesome. Glad to hear. And yeah, it's a weird thing. Sometimes I'll discover works on Twitter that are like 6 months old that I've never seen before too. Like there's also people are just not aware of work, or like another weird thing. It's kind of like a DJ set when you're putting out your work. By the second song, people aren't necessarily convinced, but maybe by the fourth work you put out or the fourth track in the mix, then all of a sudden they go, oh, this means that. This is bigger and better than I even thought. And then you really win them over, when before at the second track, maybe they were still trying to suss you out and even a little skeptical. So it's interesting, the narrative that we create as artists, as we release our work. It's a story of a certain kind, and sometimes we just need to make sure we continue telling our story and don't get discouraged when we don't get that second work selling, So thank you again for the comment, and always great to hear from you on the spaces there, August. Katerina, who we started the show with, who made this just fantastic, super interesting work. We got details here. Wow, just look at this, friends. I'm opening the show today. Thank you so much, Adrian Pocobelli, for such a big shout out for my artworks. I will remind you, you're the owner of Rainbow Mess in the Dream Day collection. Thank you so much one more time. An exploration for collaboration with my daughter from the past. I have a daughter. She is 6 already, but she likes to draw from her early years, and I'm saving all the drawings. And working on a daydream collection, I decided to use some of her early years doodles, overlaying them. So remember I was talking about using Multiply, which is a setting in Photoshop. It's probably Multiply. You can use others, Darken and others, but probably using Multiply to just remove the white, so then you can put it as a layer on top and all the color remains. And so just putting it over top, it looks fabulous, and there's something extraordinarily beautiful about kind of having a mother-daughter work, isn't there? An explanation for looking backward rider. So this work right here, this rider is going to the flaming future from the raining past, but still looking backward like we all are doing sometimes. Why? That's the question. So how interesting is that? A deep work here, and this was picked up, I think, by Trippy, or was it? I think it was Bullseye actually picked up both these works here, or this work and the other work, The Smoking Rider. So interesting. So the rain is from the past, and maybe that's the darker rain clouds here, and the fire in the future with us looking back. We're driving, looking at the rear view mirror, right? Powerful. I mean, a philosophical work here as well. Very interesting. Thank you, Katerina, for commenting, and always awesome to hear from people. This was interesting. So regarding the market and the so-called softness in the market, which I think is real, when will one of one season return? I'm not sure. OG Crooked West. A couple of things seem to be impacting one of ones in artists' ecosystem hierarchy. The rise of collection one of ones. I'm not exactly sure. So I guess there's one of ones in a big collection, and the rise of gen art. Collectors are used to seeing a one of one. I got kind of confused by this, but let me show you what I wanted to highlight here. I feel Ant XX. I feel like there are less one of ones being created at the moment, so I have less choice. And I believe Ant XX is actually a pretty big collector. I recognize that name. Ant XX is around. I've seen, I think, put some pretty big bids in. So interesting. There are less being created, probably because there are less sales. Almost back to our earlier conviction discussion, right? Because people, and maybe you don't want to put art out. Some people, like if you sell for 10 ETH, you might not want to put art out right now because you take a bigger risk of not selling that work. And all of a sudden, what does that do to your market? It's interesting. This whole idea as an artist of managing your market, you can't ignore it. Like it is a real thing, but I try not to get too wrapped up in it. I think the important thing as an artist is you're focusing on releasing the work that you want to release, great art that you're proud of, and that eventually, but there is a balance there in terms of everything. But some people are saying, restrict your supply. Some people are saying be prolific. I say be prolific. To me, that builds credibility as an artist, and the great works will be snapped up. Okay, and even the lesser works, let's say, will eventually be snapped up. It maybe at a lower price, whatever, but let's keep looking here, because this is actually what I wanted to highlight. Also, with the current market, you are not going to be able to sell it quickly, so it's a long-term commitment for that capital, right? So there's not much liquidity in the market right now, and I feel a lot of people, even big art collectors, are weary of tying up capital when these coins are giving good returns, airdrops to chase, etc., unless it's an exceptional piece. And this is an excellent, I think, the reason I'm highlighting this is because I think this is exactly what's going on. I think what happened to one of one art is crypto kind of went up. And with crypto going up, all of a sudden there's something else to do other than collect art, which it kind of felt like was the main use case there in the bear market, which may return very quickly. We don't know that. And so with the... and I feel a lot of people, even big art collectors, are wary of tying up capital when... So, exactly. So, if you have a bunch of ETH, do you necessarily want to buy a one of one right now? If ETH looked like it could go up, maybe you want to sell that. Because all of a sudden you put it in a one of one, you don't know when you're going to sell that. You're selling that for 3 ETH, right? And then all of a sudden, okay, you're down $7,500, which you might not recover. That's real money, right? And art goes for a lot of money on ETH, for example, and just in general in this scene. But so I think this kind of nailed it, which is liquidity. It's coming down to liquidity, because if people aren't hesitating to say buy a PFP on Bitcoin, the node monkeys on Bitcoin, or the puppets, the Bitcoin puppets, or a PFP on Solana, they're not hesitating there because they think they're going to get their money back, if not a whole bunch more. Whereas the one of ones, it's just a trickier market. So it needs liquidity, and you don't get a ton right now. So I think that nailed it. This is a super interesting website here, and it also discusses the trad art market. Let me just bring up Allan Survey. This is how I found it, this very interesting account. I don't know how I really came across this account, but seems to be a kind of in the more rarefied, higher circles in the art scene to a certain degree, or at least in terms of the conversation that Allan Survey has. So he referenced this article, this link here. So Kobol's Art Weekly, which is a new discovery for me. And what was interesting is right here. The auction industry, and let me see if I can make it bigger here. Referring to the market, the auction industry is in a buyer's market. Christian Hergenröder summarizes the auction house's balance sheet for Handelsblatt, a prominent German newspaper. The fact that the total proceeds in many top auctions remained at the lower end of the price range is a further sign of the market calming down. So lower range of the price range at the auction houses. No less significant are the lower sales at modern and contemporary art auctions in Hong Kong, which fell by 21% this autumn, significant compared to this spring. Again, do you want to be in a not-so-liquid art market, spending $10,000 on a piece, or do you want to be in crypto that's been going up? This is, I think, what's going on. So again, this is the trad art market here, though. According to and they have a similar, question. The stock market is approaching new records here. Even in bonds, if you're spending $1 million on an artwork, you put it in 5% bond. What is that? $50,000 a year that you're losing just in, what do they call it? Opportunity cost, right? By locking it up. So let's continue here. According to the analyst Artatic, the corresponding New York auctions have even slumped by 42%. Anglo-Saxon media, because of course this is German media, speak of a soft market, a subdued market. Consigners of market-dominating top works are unsettled by the economic climate. High interest rates and the slowing global economy are still playing a major role, but it is a good time for buyers because there are hardly any counterbidders in some area. And this is also a very important point. It's a real, quote, it's a real collector's market and not a speculator's market, end quote, says Sotheby's chief executive Charles Stewart. So if you're a collector, there are deals to be had out here, or at least it's a little easier, a little less competition to get the work you want. And so also just on this whole theme here, so a cool newsletter here. This comes out weekly. One likely victim of auction houses' disappointing sales is Stephen Brooks, who is no longer CEO of Philips, as Stephanie Diekvos found out for Handelsblatt on Friday. It is not necessarily surprising that the head of the third largest art auction house is taking his hat off after a 15% crash, the latter fact reported by Art News, the 15% crash. What is surprising, however, is that none of the relevant organizations, Art News, ArtNet, or the Art newspaper, have noticed. Apparently, the three are so busy copying from each other or processing press releases that they have no time to monitor other media or even do their own research. So, interesting commentary there from Stefan Kobel of Kobol's Art Weekly, which is on the zilkensfineart.com. Fascinating. And here you'll see the different, let me do this. Here you'll see, it comes out once a week. So if you want to be on top of the contemporary trad art scene, this is not a bad spot to do it. And so again, courtesy of Allan Survey, who was pointing out that these other art media are not reporting on things that Handelsblatt was reporting on, just kind of inside baseball there. And here's Handelsblatt, by the way, which looks like it has a pretty good art section. It only takes one, reporter who's really good. These days you have the internet, it only takes one or two people and you can have a killer feed that's original. Okay, so here, again, there's Stephen Brooks, Verlast and Kunstversteigerer Philips. So leaving the auction house here, the art market, Kunst is art in German. Here, now we're going already a little longer than I want to, but I did want to touch on this. 15 leading curators predict the defining art trends of 2024. So there's been a lot of discussion here on curating in the digital art scene. So I thought, let's just take a sample here of what people are saying, and I'm going to run through this, which is ChatGPT and AI are a hot topic, as well, and other digital tools. It's also a quote-unquote reset year, as curator Larry Osei-Mensah noted, quote, an opportunity to reevaluate the direction of practices. So a time to step back interestingly. So here are 15 leading curators. Amy Smith-Stewart, chief curator of the Aldrich Contemporary Art Museum. And I'm just going to read the first lines here. I predict we will see more artists incorporating organic materials, or materials collected, grown, and harvested from the natural world in their work, to comment and address legacies of colonization, ancestry, and cultural erasure, as well as issues of environmental justice and land use, and more generally work that explores the tenuous relationship we face on a dying planet. And then listing a bunch of artists. Marina Isgro of New Media and Performance Art in Washington, D.C., will continue to see museums reimagining how to present their collections in fresh ways. You know, I was just at the Gemälde Gallery here, the painting gallery in Berlin, and they were showing works by Jan van Eyck. They did a really actually nice job where you could zoom in, and like they had this projector. I put it on my Instagram feed there in the stories, where you could zoom in, and all of a sudden you just see this huge screen of just the mouth of a Van Eyck, of a person in a Van Eyck painting. It was actually quite cool. My friend actually told me to go because he's like, this reminds me of your Related Images series, and it did, and it made me want to repick up that series, which I will show in a future show if you haven't seen it. We'll continue to see museums reimagining how to present their collections. These could include inviting artists to respond to collections, incorporating community-created content into labels and audio guides, or highlighting conservation projects. Folakunle Oshun, out of Lagos, Nigeria, who's doing the director of the Lagos Biennial. I'm looking out for off-the-radar old-timer artists who have dug their heels outside the commercial art spaces for a while. That's where the real magic happens. Those are the artists and art posterity will remember. Not the perfectly framed 3-edition series photographs you're confident you saw at the last art fair and most likely will see at the next. Interesting. Aaron Cristovale, curator at the Hammer Museum in L.A., enthusiasm for the rise in the visibility of indigenous artists. I'm looking forward to more specificity and scholarship on the traditions, politics, and practices of such a wide-ranging group of artists. Stephanie Hessler, director of the Swiss Institute in New York. We will see a further deepening of our understandings of the intersections between social and environmental justice, similar to that other person, as well as technological developments, including their extractive shortcomings and generative potentials, from climate change to AI, sovereignty to migration. I believe we will see more artists exploring forms of world-making, responding to our various intersected social and environmental crises. Ed Shad, curator and public managers at The Broad, a big museum in LA. We'll find ways to collaborate to develop sustainable ways of creating exhibitions. Shipping, crating, and the production of elaborately but sadly disposable design features for the generation of large-scale exhibitions has created an ethics of waste and excess that the climate simply can't afford. So criticizing the actual exhibitions themselves as being too wasteful. Very interesting. Dr. Raphael Gygax, independent curator at Art on the Mart in Chicago. Exhibitions that do not shy away from complex issues and at the same time remain accessible to a wider audience. I could see this becoming more and more of a thing, because what is one of the big criticisms of contemporary art is people oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, it just means nothing to them. It's not that they even don't get it, they just don't care. It's not accessible. It's talking about things they don't care about. That is interesting. Remain accessible. Alexandra Monroe. I mean, that's one of the great things about the digital art scene. I find it's pretty accessible. It's not overly pretentious, basically, one could argue. Here, Alexandra Monroe, senior curator at Guggenheim Foundation in New York. The theme of 2023 was, how can we imagine and produce a way to exist amidst the obsolescence and fracturing of everything, including the certainty of Earth's survival? Okay, this will continue. Okay, and First Nations art and AI-generated technologies, seemingly discordant subjects such as share what Agnes works that is about the collective unconscious, is about what is possible of what we don't know. It's a little vague there. So this will continue in 2024. So basically seeing a continuation. Rodrigo Mura, chief curator at El Museo del Barrio in New York. New notions of place and landscape appear in the works of artists, as in my opinion, a special attention to the place will be needed to navigate the political landscape of 2024. And finally, Daniel Bennett, head of collectors management at the Smithsonian. Museums will become more focused on provenance research and community engagement. You know, are they going to show up on X? there's a question. Or are they going to take, what does that mean? Community engagement. I assume that's social media. Maybe that's local community, but to me, that's social media. I expect that we will see museums asking more questions beyond the walls of their institutions, including engaging communities of origin to incorporate their voices in galleries and exhibitions. Tiffany Lambert in New York with the Japan Society. How many more of these do we have? We have too many of these, actually. We're going to just very quickly, impulse towards textile practices is so strong. Okay, that's Catherine Gentleson. Here's the one in New York. Going to see more vital exhibitions that reckon with periods of erasure and artist's work that has until now been unheeded, similar to that other one. Here, Catherine Gentleson, textile practices, and will continue to flourish in 2024. Interesting. You know what I don't see here is like digital art, interestingly. I guess this is textile right here, right? With the threads hanging from the chair. Interesting. Diana Nowie, independent curator in LA. I've been thinking a lot about exhibitions and how we make and experience them. And Larry Ose-Mensah, independent curator, co-founder of Art Noir, New York. Excited about a growing number of artist-run initiatives across Africa, a movement that's gaining momentum. Mary Daly Desmarais, chief curator at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts in Montreal. Among the trends that I find most exciting this year is the steadily growing overdue and much deserved attention to Indigenous artists from and across North America. So we heard three curators say that. So there is your roundup of what people are expecting. I'm kind of excited for this one here, RJ. This week's deep dive is going to delve into the singular world of no hygiene, exploring AI, horror, and the uncanny, cinema, post-cinema, and more coming this Friday. So I think what RJ did with Yuri J there, with his digital curation, he's going to do with no hygiene. With No Hygiene, super edgy work. And if you don't know who No Hygiene is, who's selling really well here, really edgy AI artist here, as you can see. Was slow to sell at the beginning and is now getting some momentum here. Selling a lot of work here. So congrats to No Hygiene. That should be great. Looking forward to that, RJ. Leonidas, the Ordinals, I want to say the leader of the Ordinals pack here. Breaking, Mashable just dropped an article about Ordinals. We're going mainstream faster than you think. So this whole art market in contrast to what's going on in art Ordinals. I mean, if you had to say, where is the most exciting art market in the world right now? Wouldn't it be, in terms of just money, if money is your gauge, like where's the most kind of excitement and activity? You could say Solana to a certain degree, but maybe that's smaller amounts. It's probably on Ordinals, or at least the more, like they're just got the Sotheby's thing, which probably turns into real money. Again, these things are going for thousands now. Like, where's the action? Where's the growth? Like they say, there's always a bull market somewhere. Where's the bull market in the art scene? I think this is it. Continuing on, Rare, the Incredulity, shorten the name, will mint and go on sale on exchange.art. So putting on Solana, first time minting an original painting on Sol. Previous mints were AI experiments over 2 years ago. So it is not the first time that Rare is minting on Sol. So putting this super cool work here, the Incredulity, onto Solana. Stella Flores, yesterday I got super busy making bread and didn't notice my auction on Solana, exchange.art, had started. Thank you so much, Anonymous Collector. There are 3 hours left for this cool work, and I actually brought it up here. And I think there's volume. It sounds like a machine gun here. So interesting glitch work. I think we could call that glitch. Word war. So you see almost the sounds of war there with the machine guns. Description made with Sims 4, We Love Katamari, and Hydrasynth, Estelle Flores 2024. Unknown Collector winning the auction there, and there's Mikkel Nolson. Again, one of the two people who encouraged the beginning of the show way back when, a year and a half ago. So congrats to Estelle Flores. Nice sale, 3 Sol, 3.2 Sol. Kika Nikolela, GM, have a wonderful week. Getting ready to mint a new collection on exchange.art tonight or tomorrow. So that is cool too, putting a collection out on Solana there. So it's great to see this just, everybody having fun and kind of leaving the tribalism, because, of course, Kika's a curator over at Objects, so I think that's great. Trippy Collector, happy MLK Day. Look at this. So there is Trippy Collector with what I thought was a pretty cool work out there in the wild here. This great kind of street art with pixelation, these nice Mario icons here, a Windows or a Mac selection tool, a pixelated cloud. This is in, I think, Vegas. Here's a couple of murals by Vegas artist Eric Vizzola, who's a big-time favorite of mine. This is quite a different style here, interestingly, Eric Vizzola. This style, I think, could really go far, just because of the pixelation, actually. I think this would just have mass appeal if I was just sort of like the creative director on that. This looks great, though. Don't get me wrong. Interesting. So thank you, Trippy Collector. Demon Ego. These days, a deep whisper of evil is telling me to try new materials, experiment more with my art, and fuel the fire to enrich it. So, as always, it's always good. Remember we were talking about Artie Hands, listening to that intuitive voice that was saying just use this artist on your show, curate this artist. There's something to be said for listening to your intuition. So interesting from Demon Ego. Danya, another glitch artist. Circuit bent cameras coming very soon. Like within the next 10 days, they'll be $125 or the ETH Tezos equivalent. So interesting. Selling cameras here. Who would have thought it? And here is a data bent camera, courtesy of Danya, aka. And look at this. Helio Santos. I thought this was super interesting. This is kind of like facial recognition here, but it's like object recognition. This is just a really cool, and then putting on a painting is very interesting too. Even how, this is kind of muted out. It's not a super bright red or bright pink or bright green. There's something really just cool about this. And then you see the little chair, 0.00 person. Very interesting, these squares. I think I've seen them before, but really nice, interesting, very modern, right? Contemporary. Again, we go back to Baudelaire. Make art for the present, the painter of the modern day. Work in progress. Someone else who does very work of the modern day here, Joao Salazar, showing a studio shot here, interestingly. So here it looks more like paint than plasticine. We see the acrylic here. The acrylic colors, maybe a lot of medium in here. A lot of, I almost want to say that's like almost wax or gel. Or not even, it's like beyond gel. It's like paste. Maybe it's paste. And this is something I wanted to show. This is very important here before we get into the works here, which is the importance of process. Remember, we've been discussing here how when you have a good process, you can be pretty rough about things. So look, pretty rough, not worrying too much. It doesn't have to be the perfect line because Paul Riedmuller here has their process, right? They just have their thing. They don't need to worry about, having a stroke of brilliance or of genius. They just got to make it good. They just got to kind of do their thing. And there's something very, I want to say like Warholian about it, where you don't even need to worry. Once you get your process down, this is one of the beautiful things of having a good process is you can kind of make art stress-free, right? And then look, poetry, right? So just like an assembly line type way of creating art. And so just really cool. And you don't even necessarily, frankly, need to know how to draw that well. Probably a lot of you could do this and probably making it look easier than it looks there, but nevertheless, so interesting there. Into the art we go. So Zwozo, with a few works here. Let us get started. And here we go. The great Zwozo. So super interesting work here from Zwozo. A few more. And here is actually, this is something that Zwozo posted on Twitter, interestingly. Looking like having some fun there on an old Game Boy, maybe even using it in the work somehow. Here's another one on Zora. Such a mysterious and just fun artist. Outrageous pixelation here. Huge, huge pixels. Just fun. Let's continue here. And there is another one on Taya here. Let me just... Actually, a couple. I'm not sure if I think I showed this one, but let's just show it again. And here is a collaboration with Nuv 1914 that just came out. So how cool is that? January 16th. Oop. So super interesting. How much is this? 12 Tezos, an edition of 4. Interesting collab. So two really edgy artists collaborating here. And here is, cool work from Zozo. Now here's a work from Nuv 1914. Some recent pieces from, again, a super experimental digital artist here. I believe out of Argentina, if I'm not mistaken here. So working with these kind of 3D airbrush teddy bears, always pushing the limits, I'd say, of like aesthetics here. And here's another one. So these are from the last like week or so, these teddy bears that have been coming out. And here is another one, what I'm calling teddy bears. Maybe they're rabbits, not even sure. So just interesting pieces here. Still available, 20 Tezos, a 1 of 1. And that is selling originally for 9 Tezos on, so that is on secondary. And this is 15 Tezos, Wei Lu buying it for 10 and selling for 15. So a little bit of secondary action. You know, the artist is laughing because that they're happy. They're selling their work here, so that's good news for them. Muro, also by Nuv 1914. So another totally experimental work here by just such an interesting artist. They would hang really well together, and it's cool that they're collabing on that one piece that we were just looking at, that video. It kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. Here is Martin Bruce with an interesting post here. This is on Foundation Fata Morgana. I love it. That is actually the name of the gallery that I first showed at in Berlin here. It's now closed, Fata Morgana, or at least it's been taken over by someone else. Kind of a community gallery. Constantine at Zed Bar there was the guy. I ran into him on the street and he just offered me a show on the spot. So here, this is called Fata Morgana, which I think means something like dream of a certain kind, Fata Morgana. Not exactly sure, something to do with a dream. Anyways, super interesting piece here from Martin Bruce. Reserve of 0.3 ETH. Kind of has a physical feeling to it, doesn't it? So... mysterious as ever. Again, bold experimentalism here. Lorna Mills, you excite me. So a cool work here. I feel like I've seen this maybe on Twitter before, but it has been minted here with what looks like a bubble and disappearing with this great kind of marquee mask that follows the popping of the bubble there. So very cool. From Lorna Mills, edition of 32, 20 Tezos, and there are 8 left. Continuing on, Jan Lucas Migone, my first drop on Object this year. Kind of has me thinking of the Inferno here too. My New Week in Flames fam. So this is going to be put out, I believe, I'm not sure if it's this is probably the entire work. I was going to say, I'm not sure if it's a crop or not. It is possible that it's a crop. Anyway, beautiful work here by Jan Lucas Migone, the Skeletons in the Flames. And here is Tornado Rodriguez, part of the Neutro Art Fair Collective drop. Actually, I saw this on Twitter. I didn't realize this is from December 21st. Helped my mind. So a cool illustration here from Tornado Rodriguez that I had missed earlier with the eye falling out here and the space background and everything. The UFO, all the details that we love here on a Tornado Rodriguez work. Interesting color too. Nice illustration. This end of year feels heavier and heavier. So available for $333, edition of 21, and there are 4 left. This is a cool work, I thought, by Burka Bayram. Just a simple work, and what I liked about it was kind of just declaring peace, and with, you know, the opposing, kind of distilling war and battle and argument out into its basic elements that are free from identification with a flag and everything. So only the peace sign and the expressions on the face. Really nice piece here from Burkett Byram. Lucas Lejeune with another cool, what looks like generative art piece here. Pretty wild, actually, as you can see here. Black and white generative art piece. And continuing on as we run through this episode, this is Yuri J CT. And these are new works just minted 20 hours ago on Solana. This is 1.5 Sol. So interesting digital art piece here, an abstract, I think we could safely say. And here is another one, also just minted 20 hours ago, Ida. And so playing with different kinds of effects here. And I wonder, sometimes Yuri J will take the same structure and then apply different kind of techniques on it. And I think we see that here. You see, it's the same structure, this kind of waviness here, and we'll probably see it here as well. So interesting, very, very interesting. Jebel Musa, 1.5 Sol here as well. So cool work here from Yuri J. Continuing on, Santiago Ruao, this is on Zora, Quantum Bridge. So another cool abstract here from Santiago, who I do follow. That is a Twitter glitch. And here, Caving Wild, Resistance. So another cool abstract here. Kind of a more muted black and white work with just a bit of red there. Interesting piece there. And as we get into the pixel art, Ripcache, Panic, just posted to Twitter or to X. Not sure if it's a new one or not, but interesting piece here. Beautiful dithering and kind of with a cyberpunk feel to it, doesn't it? Cyberpunk, but maybe overlapping with crypto art with the security cameras here, interestingly. And here we have a work by mech.txt, Pelian Prosperity. So, of course, the Peloponnesus, we don't have time to look it up on the map, but here you see another beautiful DOS work referencing ancient Greece here in this new DOS work here. Beautiful. Look at what looks like water here, but not entirely sure, but pretty sure that's water. Just a beautiful work here from mech.txt. This is going to be posted, I think it's going to be a first come, first serve today. Detective Norm. This is by Cuda. So just an interesting piece here with some shimmering pixels here and kind of looking like a bit of a crypto art piece. And here's the detective here, founder of Le Bureau Fedora Parapixel Investigations, edition of 1 for 100 Tezos. And here is Tom Bombadil with Marine Secrets with what looks like a Planet of the Apes type Statue of Liberty here, but underwater. So almost kind of futuristic, but kind of retro in this, the diver here. So cool blend of retro and future with these cool pixels here. New piece, Marine Secrets from Tom Bombadil, 22 Tezos on secondary, selling out at 550 on primary, edition of 15. Here is a very cool work by Chaz, open edition, 26 have been minted, only a Tezos. Pretty cool working with the arcade this time, so the retro arcade rather than the computers at home, so a nice variation there. Very cool. Also Sabato, United versus Spurs. So here you see the Tezos logo here. I think it's the Spurs that are, I don't know what's going on here, and you see the guys sliding through, maybe just scored a goal. And then perhaps this is the referee. So all sorts of stuff going on here in the soccer game portrayed. This United versus Spurs soccer game. Love the subject matter here by Sabato. This is 550, edition of 44. And there are 31 left. And you get a share, you see you can earn if you share it. Taka Shoshi. Hey, what's up? Tomorrow at 11, you can see the complete animation I made space to create for the collective drop of Neutro Arts with Value Pelucas. Pretty nice piece here. I wasn't sure if this was Pamelo Chirone or influenced by. And here you see Valuela Pelucas 3000, NFT Art Camp in Argentina. Really nice piece here. Love the subject matter here too. Also sports. Here it's swimming. And love the audience here. Just very nice work here. Here is Pamelo Chirone, here Nostalgia 1970s. So a really cool GIF here. This is a free mint here, part of the Vuela Pelucas 3000 drop by Pamelo ETH. So probably that other one is by Pamelo. So very cool work here. Acidboy working on a new ordinal. Let's take a look. And I think exactly there is some animation in there. So as you see here, I just think Acidboy has really found a nice little home here on ordinals, and the market's liking it. He's getting collectors there. You know, do what Acidboy's doing is what I tell myself. This is cool. This is smart. You know, there could be a stampede. You saw it with Rip Caches already on ordinals. There could be a stampede. I could be wrong. Maybe nothing happens, but at least here with the Gamma site, as I was showing yesterday, you can put works on there that can be minted by other people, so you don't need that upfront cost ahead of time. Daydream emulator from everything to nothing. So I showed, I think, the part of this yesterday. This is Chris War and Mikel Aladev. So here is the longer version. I can't show the whole thing, but just to give a taste. I mean, pretty amazing, actually. So we'll stop it just before 30 seconds. But all to say, you can see the full thing on Object. Here it is. And this is 1500 Tezos, edition of 1. Pretty cool work here. Ela Frederick, pretty funny. This was just posted. Not sure if that's new or not. I'm going to stop that for the flashing. Kind of cool piece there. Ina Vare has a new work here on Sol after, I think, selling the last one for 5 Sol, I think we saw yesterday. So pretty good for analog video glitch art. So here we have another one, and it's pretty nice work here, as we can see. So more glitch artists getting on Solana, interestingly. Pure analog generated hardware glitch, digitally finished. And let's continue here. We may finish at almost just over an hour here. Bella, Xmortal, this is part of a collection called Disclosure, which, of course, old AM radio fans will know Disclosure was all about alien disclosure. Art Bell there on Coast to Coast. Shout out to Spugels, who actually made a work in reference to Art Bell. Anyway, here is Xmortal called Bella, sold for 0.1 ETH. Nice work. Set at 0.1, sold within an hour and a half. Video glitch art, doing well. Very cool. And this is also selling. Klaus's work is selling almost, you know, within a few hours here, 24 Tezos. These compositions continue to do very, very well here. Here's number 72. Here's number 71, also selling for 21 Tezos. So again, analog video art, video glitch art, doing very well right now. Here's another one, number 73. Also not sold yet, or maybe just listed. It's possible this was just listed. Some really nice pixelation there in the top left. So just very fun to watch in these great color combinations. As you see right here, beautiful gradient, composition number 70. This is now 300 Tezos. Hans, I think, picked it up, or at least Atros picked it up for 21. Then Hans bought it for 35. And now Hans wants 300 for it. So hot market from Klaus here. Nice work. LB, we're going nowhere. And this is selling out here. This is an edition, or maybe, sorry, not selling out. Edition of 10. There are 6 left at 5 Tezos each, but making sales. Hans again there. And so 5 Tezos, just more interesting analog glitch, video glitch art. Tobushi Jomei. So, of course, Renki coming in with another original work here. Keeping it interesting, just kind of one color with black and white, which tends to work pretty well. I thought this was pretty cool. Shilly Preston, Untitled Basquiat remix. I thought this was actually quite interesting. With the selection tool, removing the painting, just keeping the brush strokes, and then putting basically some sort of video behind it. I thought pretty interesting, Shilly. Cool piece, as W74 says. Shout out to W74. Thanks for the tweet yesterday. Here is Yoain. Movement Studies, good morning. So Ian just posting this, 17,000 views. So Twitter X is liking it. And here, just another really cool AI painting here, or fusion of AI and digital painting here from Ian. As we move into the AI section here, nice piece from Tukes Under the Tuscan Sun. Really cool piece here. Let me see if we can make that larger. So kind of looks like, I guess it looks like Tuscany here. And you see all of the artistry of this AI artist here. All of the work and nice composition. Nice kind of, again, negative space. I like that a lot. Even here, the white up here is pretty cool. Beautiful work from Tukes as ever. I'm not sure. I think we might have looked at this, but I thought a powerful, and I follow Mikey de la Creme. That's an glitch. Raising an out-of-control teen can be extremely challenging and frustrating. Sometimes your mind can go to dark places, especially seeing someone go down the same path you went and they refuse to listen. That must be, I can imagine, and I hear stories from friends. I'm mastering the art of staying calm, yet strong during these storms. Otherwise, I might end up like this guy burning down the house. So David Byrne here in this work here, and this is a 1 of 1 on Tezos for 77 Tezos, burning down the house blues. So powerful work here from Mikey, and the inside of the house on fire. Powerful work. Shout out to Mikey de la Creme, awesome collector and awesome AI artist, impressively. Lily Illo with a new work here. Let me just do that. New chairs. New interesting chairs with weird shadows that don't match up. I love it. I love it. Same with these. Very, very interesting work here. Beautiful color, I might add, on these. Great work. Brentwood and the Dance of Thonet. AI art, so Stable Diffusion here, DALL-E, using different AI tools here. Beautiful. And here, of course, a strange thing, looking like he's in the Inferno with a fila, or at least a character here with a fila jacket and a balaclava hanging out in what looks like the Inferno, or deep in a circle of hell here. Clouded Judgment. Nice fire there and everything, and just fantastic colors as usual. As we go into the physical work here, Yves de Camp, it's not always easy to express my feelings. In a wrestler mask here, just edgy, strange work. Acrylic on canvas, 40 by 50 centimeters, just for sale from the artist, it looks like. But quite a few followers there, 48,000 followers. Groovy Gnome, Vacaciones, number 9. So interesting. Let's see if we can make that bigger. We can't, and we'll see if it reloads. So interesting elephant work there, kind of surreal. Continuing on, Bondozo Bandito. I don't think I showed this one. This is a new one, I think. Actually, I think I did show this one with the nose there. Just a fantastically interesting artist right now. John Wayne Gacy Dynamic. Another interesting work, Tim Lahan, who's some of his work we've seen before. This looks like a work on paper. Maybe even cutout paper. 13 o'clock from around this time in January of 2020. Interesting work. Exene Kairos from It's Not Gallery. Look at this kind of surreal work. We were talking about juxtaposition and how the visual arts uniquely can do juxtaposition in an immediate, in a particularly effective way because it's immediate. With writing, you can do juxtaposition, but it takes time. Visual arts uniquely, I'd argue, can do this kind of thinking. Juxtaposing ideas, association, all these sort of things. Almost a hat tip to Magritte there with the key. David R. Hales, really cool artist here, kind of a surreal illustration here. Still needs title, watercolor and ink from 2023. And this is Luciana Guerra. I love drawings, so just cool drawings here from Luciana. Using a little bit of color in there. So nice piece there, and I love this piece by Jim Pico of Medusa. And you can see the snakes coming in the hair, coming from the hair and just coming from the head, and just really nicely painted here. And that, my friends, is your show. Come join us on the Twitter space tomorrow with Michele Colonna talking about his gallery, and Dina Chang. Should be awesome. Until next time, take care.